This is not tea or coffee, none of that. What do you think it is? So today we're going to be doing a Lightroom mobile tutorial because all the images I'll be editing today will be edited on my mobile phone. I've posted some of these images on my Instagram, so if you're not following me on Instagram, just go check me out. This isn't going to be an in-depth tutorial. I'll be having in-depth tutorials as time goes on. This is just I just want you to see my workflow, my thought process, and the challenges I face when I'm editing, and the problems I run into and how I solve them. So there's not going to be any cuts. Once I begin to edit, I'll leave the camera running and I'll leave the screen recording running on my phone. But most of the time I'll try and make comments or I'll leave annotations on the screen so you can see exactly what I'm thinking about. So let's jump into Lightroom and edit some photos. So today we're going to be editing grains. Most people avoid editing grains because it could be a little bit tricky if you don't know how to tweak the colors to your taste. And you could desaturate the grains and get rid of them, but I feel that grain is a beautiful color if you know how to work your way around it. So which photo should we edit first? I think we should go to the most challenging one first. Let's go to this photo, this product shoot I did for a brand called LIGHTROOM. I think this will give us some challenge, so I want you to see when I'm struggling. So let's go to the temperature slider. One of the things that could actually affect the color of green and any other color for that matter is the temperature slider. So the white balance, to be precise, the white balance is comprises of the temperature and the tint. So the tint could affect color. So by taking this tint slider down to green, we have already almost transformed the look of this image. So I think we should take down the tint just a little bit and warm it up a little bit more. So we have this. So when you're editing, you have to go back and forth and see what works for you. So let's get down to the. So in this image we have grains are always in the yellows, the greens, and sometimes the aquas. So here we have some green here. So if you're in doubt, just go to the saturation slider and bump it up so you can see which color is involved in the photo you want to edit. So I think we should bump up the saturation here and take it towards the lemon, not towards this other side. You can also go for this, but I feel that a more natural look would be editing your grains towards the lemon. I think I'll take down the luminance to make it a little bit darker. Then I go to the yellows. What do we have in the yellows? We don't have a lot of hue or color in the yellows, so I'm going to take down the luminance a bit, then push it towards the green. So basically I'm trying to match the greens and the yellows to have one hue. So I don't think we have anything in the aquas today. Oh, we have something in the aqua. We have this, the logo on top of the image. I think we should bump up the saturation of that alone and make it shine a bit. Yes, I think that works. I think the white is not looking really white, so we should solve that problem. We'll solve that later. Let's go to the curves and solve it now. We'll do that now. I think if we add a little bit of blue to the highlights, it affects the white in that image. I think it's better this way. Let's take the shadows down. We'll go back to the tint slider and bring it towards the magenta. So this is actually a very difficult image to color grade. We have yellows. We have oranges here. We can decide to make it green or make it red. I think if I make it more reddish, it brings the eye towards the product itself. So I'm going to make it red and bump up the saturation a bit. I think that's better. I might change my mind at the last minute, but this is what I'm going to do for now. I don't like the way this is looking, to be honest. That's the thing about color grading. You have to keep tweaking until you get exactly what you want. So I'm tweaking the hue, I'm tweaking the saturation and the luminance to see what I like. Yes, I think I'm okay with this now. Let's go back to the curves and add a little bit of fade to the image. Just a little bit of fade. Gives it that film fade. I think we've come a long way so far in this image, but I can still see that we have a little bit of green tint on the white. So let's take down the temperature down a little bit. Add some tints. I think we are good. We're going to add some graduated filter. And have it falling slowly. Take down the shadows and the exposure. So brings our eyes to the center of the image, which is the product we want people to focus on. I think we are good. I don't like the way this is looking, but I'm going to leave it at that. So let's move on to another image. Let's see. I found this image on the internet. This is an image that was shared by, I can't remember the Twitter user, but he shared the raw photo and shared the after. So he edited it and this was very green. So I'm going to show you how he did that. In my own way, I'm going to show you. And first of all, I'm going to take down the highlights to reveal the details in the sky, and then I'm going to tint, add a little bit of tint to the image and go to the greens and move it towards, yeah, we have more yellows in these greens than greens itself. So we're going to add more, instead of orange we're going to add more green, saturate it and take down the luminance a bit. So this is a JPEG, so you have to be really gentle with the way you edit. But thank God for Twitter still has some resolution. The images you get off Twitter actually sort of high resolution. Look at the resolution of that, not bad for a JPEG gotten off the internet. So we have that, and then take down the shadows, make it more moody, and then take up the highlights a bit, contrast. I think there is a car here. I would like to draw your attention to the car, so I'm going to add a graduated filter below and make the lowest end of the image a little bit darker, so we can have more attention to the car, so you can see the road. And I think we have some blue sky. Let's have that, some blues in the sky to bump up the saturation, then move it towards teal, but not so much. Yeah, I think I'm fine with this. I'd like to add some blues to the shadows, so add some points here and just take down the ever so slightly. So we're adding some teal to the shadows without affecting the greens itself. So I think I like how this is going so far. We have some oranges here, but I would like to move that towards green. If you go to orange, you can see that this other end is the reddish, it's red, and this other part is green. So I'm going to move it towards the green. So you can see that the landscape is an all green landscape. Maybe not originally an all green landscape, but the look we're going for requires that everything should be green and lemon green, almost to lemon. So if you take this up, you can see that this area here has been changed to green. So we're going to have take down the luminance and it matches. So we've gone from this to that. So let's move on to another image, and let's take up the exposure a bit. So I intentionally shot this shadow side so that we can have some drama and some shadow by this side of the face. So the sun is coming from up here, and I decided to shoot from this side so we can have some shadow on this side of their face. So I think her face is being lit by this shirt here is acting as a reflector to her face. Let's see our metadata. F2 ISO 100. So it's a good shot. Take down the highlights because it's a little bit too hot. Shirt there. I'd like to leave this to be really moody, but not too moody. Yeah, if you're shooting with an 85mm, you always have chromatic aberration, so you can try to remove that and enable lens correction. But I don't want lens correction because it takes out the moodiness I want. So instead, I add a little bit of vignette and featherize a little bit. So let's go and edit the grain itself and just bend this grain is more towards the lemon, so I'm going to just make it a little bit different. Go to the yellows and make it, we have more. So we're going to be dancing between yellows and green most of the time. So sometimes some vegetation have more yellows in them and some of them have more greens in them. So for this case we have more greens in more yellows to say in this image than greens. So we're going to take down the luminance, make it a bit darker. So if you take down the luminance, it brings more attention to the subjects more than the greens. So if I take it up, the greens can be a little bit distracting, and that's why people hate greens. But it's about learning how to manipulate them. Take down the greens a bit, and I think we are good. Okay, we have some blues in his shirt, so just take down that tiny bit. Then the shadows, I think we are okay. Let's sharpen the image a little bit, mask it out first, and then sharpen it a lot, maybe to like 80. I think we're good for this image. So let's go to this one. It's one of my favorite images taken on my DJI Mini 2. It's fantastic. I had to wait for 10 minutes for the shots, but it was worth it. So let's bend the greens right away. We don't have any time to waste. Just make it a little bit take it away from being too teal towards the oranges, not oranges, lemon or lime, not lemon or lime. Put down the luminance again. Then we're going to deal with we have some rocks, and these rocks are they're orange, but I want you to just look at the green landscape, so I'm going to just take it towards the green. So I'm taking the yellows, taking it towards the greens. But for this image it doesn't work because the rocks or the sand on the floor, on the ground, on the earth doesn't really inspire me, so I'm just going to desaturate that. So we had this before, now we have this. I feel the image is cleaner when we do this. So let's add a little bit of vignette to bring our eyes towards the car, the shiny car. I think I've edited this image a bit before. Take down the clarity just a little bit because the DJI-Mini 2 can over sharpen some images sometimes. Let's say it's -6. And are we going to sharpen it? I don't think we need any sharpening. Maybe just mask it to the car and just give the car a little bit of bump. And I think we're done. We're done here. So we've gone from this to that. Wonderful. And finally, I think we should edit this image. You can see these two images were shot at approximately the same time, but you can see the grains are looking a little bit different. I prefer the way this one looks because it complements the skin tone more, but this one is edging towards the oranges and I don't like it. So if you look at the temperature here, my camera was set at auto white balance, so the camera chose a temperature of 4800 Kelvin. Then for this image it chose 4400 Kelvin. So you can take this down to 4400 Kelvin and it will almost match with what we have here. So you can see that white balance and temperature plays a big role in the way an image looks. Yeah, so I think we are almost done with this image. We don't have a lot to do here besides taking down the luminance and desaturating it a tiny bit. We don't have a lot of yellows too, but I would like to make this yellow to pop. Let's make it pop. And well done. Let's crop it a bit. 4x5. Yeah. Take down the shadows and the highlights a bit. Chromatic aberration. I can see some purple on the shirt. If you look at the shirt is not totally black, and that's because there's a purple cast coming from I don't know where, but we can take care of that by taking down the purples. You can see when we take the purples down, it makes the shirt a little bit more blacker. So yes, you have to pay attention to every single detail as a colorist. So I feel the shirt looks a little bit better now, but I want to add some teal to it, so I'll just go to my curves. So add some teal. So you have to be careful. Place some points here. I call them limiters. So you take down just a little bit. You have to be very, very tender with it. Really very gentle. I think I like what we're doing now. It has changed the entire tints of the grains, so we're going to tweak that by adding some temperature, some warmth, and tweak the tints until we're satisfied with what we have. So I've been able to match the color of the hearts with almost match the color of the hearts with the vegetation around them. I would like to add a radial filter, a graduated filter actually, to the top here, and then I'm going to take down the exposure a bit, the shadows, so it brings your eye a little bit down to the skin tone. I think we should be done with this now. Let's bump the skin tone up a bit. Yes, I think we are done here. Let's edit one last one. maybe this guy, no, I don't know, maybe this. No, we have more goings here. Let's edit this guy. First of all, we have to crop the image and take out the distractions here. I have my sandals, my bag or something here. So editing this, I think it doesn't look natural this way. I've never seen a vegetation look like this before. I don't know if I'm colorblind, but I've never seen that. So I'm going to take it towards the lemon. Take down the luminance, but not so much. Do the same for here. Let me desaturate that. I think it looks better when it is saturated. I want to drag your attention towards the waterfall. That's the most important thing for me. So I'm going to try to saturate the grains this time, because I want your eyes to be guided towards the waterfall, and I think I've sort of achieved that. And let's go and add a little bit of vignettes, highlights, fade out a bit. So I'm going to make the waterfall to pop by taking up the highlights. No, not here. Let's take up the highlights a tiny bit. But when I take up the highlights, it begins to accentuate the grains. Well, I don't want that, so I'm going to take down the highlights so the grains can be dulled and moody. But I want the waterfall to pop, so I'm going to add a mask on the waterfall. Just slightly brush it. I'll be more precise if it was, but for the sake of this interview, I'm just going to, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to gently brush it and just add a little bit of highlights there so it can pop. Maybe a little bit of exposure, just a tiny bit. And I think we're good. Maybe increase the clarity and texture and dehaze it a bit, so it's gonna have this look. And generally I'm going to soften the image, make it a little bit soft. My curves, let's leave the curve a little bit. So I think we're done. We've gone from this to that. I think that's not bad at all. So that's the end of the tutorial. If you learned anything, you can leave it in the comment section. You can ask me any questions. I'm still learning. This is not exactly how every photo should be edited, but this is just how I do it. So if you have any suggestions on how I would have done it better, you can leave me comments in the comment section. Thank you for staying up to this point in the tutorial, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and maybe share this video with anyone you feel will need this tutorial. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.